Hello, my fellow project managers. How are you? I know lots of you are powering down to get certified in 2020. And I really want to help give you some direction, support your efforts, give you some ideas of what to focus on. Okay. Many of you have been following me on this channel. You've been involved in trainings we've done. I want to add some value to your prep. I want you to think about the importance of deliberateness in your studying, the importance of being consistent. Typically, when you're getting ready for an exam like this, there's a tendency to open up the PMBOK guide to be a little bit concerned that you haven't covered this massive amount of information to your heart's content. But I want you to, first of all, understand the concept of daily deliberateness. Daily deliberateness. You've got about a month left. You've got to have a timeline. Let's say you've got 3 weeks left. In these 3 weeks, you need to, first of all, discount those 3 weeks and look at it as 2 weeks. So you have 2 weeks to prepare for your PMP exam. Best case scenario, end of the month, right? What you need to do with these 14 days is cover 2 chapters daily. If you're not covering 2 chapters daily and you've only got 14 days, it's going to be a disaster. So I want you to commit. I'm asking you to commit right now. Let's say today is December 14th. Commit to it that you are going to be done within the next 6 days with 13 chapters. That's what you have to do. Some of you are done. You've studied the chapters, but you're not really sure that you're going to pass the exam. That's a whole different topic. But for those of you that have covered the content and you're in revision mode, I have something else for you. For those of you that have not finished the content to your heart's content, you need to commit 2 chapters at a minimum daily. And for those of you that tell me, Phil, I'm working, I'm having trouble with my projects, trust me, I've been there. I understand. I've been managing projects for a long time. It's been overwhelming for me as well. I remember getting ready for my exam. I was on planes going to meet clients as a project manager. I took my study materials with me. I studied them in the plane. I studied in the car. I became a junkie. You have to become addicted and obsessed with this prep so that you can get done in 2020. So I need you to commit 2 chapters a day. Now, when we talk about chapters 1, 2, and 3, I know some folks are pretty good in that. So that's also going to give you some additional cushion and buffer. But you need to be hitting those 2 chapters a day. However you choose to do it is fine, but just do it anyway. I don't care how you do it, whether you use my study guide, whether you use the PMBOK guide, what we have to cover. Now, let me tell you what you need to cover very quickly. Let me show you the enormity of what we have before us. Some of the things we need to cover. First of all, we need to cover, of course, the 49 processes. You need to understand the key definition, and you also need to cover the benefits of every process. You also need to cover the unique ITTOs. Don't cram, but understand. Understand, please. It does not take much to understand. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's take a process such as performing a graded change control. Please, let's focus on this. Follow me to page 113. For example, perform integrated change control. On this page, you can see the key definition. Perform integrated change control is a process of reviewing all change requests, approving changes, and managing changes to deliverables, project documents, and the project management plan, and communicating the decisions. This process reviews all requests for change to project documents, deliverables, or the project management plan and determines the resolution of the change request. Please follow me along and pay attention to what I'm showing you because it's going to add value to you. So that was the key definition, or the main definition, if you will. The next thing that they go into here is the key benefit. Key benefit. The key benefit of this process is that it allows for documented changes within the project to be considered in an integrated manner while addressing overall project risk, which often arises from changes made without consideration of the overall project objectives or plan. If you heard that definition on the exam, wouldn't you have gone on a rabbit trail thinking about risk? You would, and that's why you need the key definitions and the key benefits. But let me show you something else. You also want to look out for the UITTOs, the unique ITTOs. What do I mean by that? Well, taking a look at this process, you've got the inputs, you've got the tools and techniques, you've got the outputs. Which ones are unique or worthy of mention? Well, right off the bat, work performance reports. That does not appear in many places as an input. And change request does not appear in any other place. What about the tools and techniques? You got change control tools. Change control tools. That is a big one. See that? And then in the outputs, what do you have? You have approved change requests and change log. You see how I'm thinking about these? You gotta focus on the unique things. So key definitions, key benefits, unique ITTOs. The next thing that I want you to focus on is the extended definition. The extended definition. And to do that, turn to page 115. Page 115, you can see the extended definition. My goodness, there's so much gold on this page. I don't even have the time right now to go into everything because I have highlighted my book. Don't say it's too late. It may not be too late for you. You see my book right there? You see all those underlines? It's because there's gold there. And you, as you're studying for the exam, you need to understand what is the gold. There's a ton of gold here. Some of the points that are brought up here, we could write 20, 30 questions on change management, and people would get them wrong because they are not aware of this. So this process is the ultimate responsibility of the project manager, performing integrated change control. Any stakeholder involved with the project should be requested or can be requested by any stakeholder. Once the project is baselined, change requests go through this process. Before baselines are established, there's no need for formal change control. Did you know that? And then here we decide which artifacts, elements need to be configured. And here it also mentions, although changes may be requested verbally, they should be recorded in written form. Goes on and on. Here you realize the change control board is not required on every single project. You realize that the approving authority could be the PM or the sponsor. And you also realize that the customer or sponsor may need to be called in for these approvals. You see how detailed we went? So when I say know these things, my friends, the key definitions, key benefits, unique ITTOs, extended definition, I know what I'm talking about. There's so many gotcha traps in the PMBOK guide with these definitions extended that just change the entire process. For example, in identify risks, let's go there, 11.2. I want to show you some of the tiny little gotchas that you can find in these processes. Take a look at this. Page 411. This is the extended definition of identify risk. See that? The extended definition, it says, when describing and recording individual project risk, a consistent format should be used. And then it jumps to the place where we talk about, in order to support effective analysis and risk response development, risk owners for individual project risk may be nominated as part of the identify risk process. Why? To support effective analysis. You want to immediately put someone, that's your risk. Where do we do it? In identify risk. Did you know that? No, we typically think, okay, we assign a risk owner when we have the response. No. So if you don't mine deep into this book, A lot of damage could be done. I laugh when I hear people say, you don't have to read the PMBOK guide. And I hear so-called trainers saying this and so-called PMPs. It's dumb. Let me tell you why it's dumb. If your trainer does not hit on that nail that exists in the guide and you get a question on it, you're going to get it wrong. You're going to get it wrong. And there are some questions like that. But if your exam is made up of so much content that is very specific to some of this, you could get your exam flunked. Don't think that when intelligent, bright people pass the exam, they are failing because they're stupid. No, they are failing because they have not paid attention to enough of the items that they are served in the exam. So the exam is lopsided towards stuff they have not focused on. So those who haven't read the book, just count yourself fortunate and don't look at those people like they don't know anything. No, you got to be all over it. And many people are unfortunate. It's like the lottery, if you will. You're gambling when you don't read to this degree. So my job is to show you what you need to read. What I want you to do is this. Spend a day, please spend a day. Spend a day. Let me show you what I want you to do. I want you to spend a day going through the key definitions, the key benefits, the unique ITTOs, and the extended definitions for all the 49 processes. And you know what time tag I'm going to put on it? For every one of those processes, my friends, I want you to dedicate 1 minute for that, 1 minute for that, 2 minutes to scan through that table, right? And the extended definition, let's throw in another 1 minute for that. Okay? Everything will come together because some processes have very scant extended definitions, if any. So you're spending roughly 5 minutes per process, and you're multiplying that by 49 processes. Let's just equate it to 50. So on average, you're going to spend 250 minutes towards your PMP exam to get these 49 down. You're going to learn a ton. You're going to take notes. You're going to learn a ton. Some of you are going to go through highlights and just highlight. And you know what? These 250 minutes, this is very similar, close to your 4-hour exam. So you're spending 4 hours to invest in one of the most important 4 hours of your life, of your career, to get this certificate done. Is that too much to ask? No. And that's why I call this the 5 times 49 challenge. Spend some time digging, my friends. Some of you are going to tailor this in a different way. You're going to find that you don't need to spend as much time on some processes, and that's okay. But I want you to spend time digging. Spend time digging, okay? For those of you who need help and assistance, we have a ton of assistance on the Praizion site. Many different courses you could go for. I want to show you a few of those real quick. Because one of the questions I have is, okay, Phil, now that you've told me what to do, I need some additional help. How am I going to get it? I'll share with you some ideas real quick here. All right. So on the Praizion site, we have a course that could take you through all of the contents that you need for your exam within a week. That's one of the options. But if you click on more products, you have in there a lot of stuff that can help you as add-ons to what you already have. We have TECHCAMPS, audio content, video content, quite a lot of stuff that you can leverage and use for your exam. Let's take a look at some of those. So when you get to the Praizion side, if you click on View More Products, you can take a look down here. But before we do that, let's go back to that home page, because it's something that just occurred to me is really going to help you massively. It's this right here. It's called PMP Exam Power Review Book PDF. This item right here, right here. This item right here, this could greatly help you in rapidly, like pretty much doing what I just told you. So the key benefits, the key definitions, those things, whittling them down into easy to understand English and spending just 5 minutes a piece. This PMP exam power review book PDF, that is going to help you. If possible, I'm going to try and put a link somewhere to describe what exactly this is. So that's just one of the items. But going into the View More Products list, click on View More Products. It'll take you here. And I do want to recommend the TECHCAMPS. Listen to the word carefully, TECHCAMPS. These are very extended meetings. You're going through 12 plus hours of content over there in that boot camp, actually 15 hours of content in that one. And this is the CRISP Tech Camp. We go through integration, stakeholder, basically 5 areas, okay? We call it CRISP: communication, resources, integration, stakeholder, and procurement. So that is one of the options that may help you to double down and do this, okay? The other option that we have here, if you scroll down, is another tech camp, and this is the iron tech camp. You see, it says iron there. Why? Because we go over the iron triangle, the iron triangle. You see that right there? That is the iron tech camp. So those are vehicles, just 2 of the vehicles that could help you. For those of you that don't have that much time, and you're like, oh, you know, my schedule is down to the wire. I just need something I can do for a couple of days. You might want to look at this one called the Power Review over here. PMP exam, Power Review Live. This now has, I think, about 16 plus hours of content, but it's broken into chunks of 4 hours a piece, 3 hours a piece, like that. That could also help you if you have limited time and you cannot do the tech camps. Maybe this boot camp, I mean, it helps scores of folks get the exam content under control. Okay. So that's what I wanted to show you from our site. Now, going a step further, I want to show you, I want to get you into the mindset of what you can face on the exam. Are you ready? Let's do it real quick. All right. So I call it a PMP exam readiness check. My goal is not to ask you a bunch of questions, but it's to familiarize you with what you can face on the exam. One of the things you can face on the exam is intermediate level questions. On your project report, this is the case. What does it mean? You need to be able to answer things like this. Look for the EV. Is the EV higher than the PV and AC? If yes, you are doing good on both fronts of schedule and budget. But if your EV is lower than your PV, you are behind schedule. If your EV is lower than your AC, you are over budget. So what does that translate to looking at this? Well, it means that there are obviously delays. So we're not faster than expected, right? You spent more than planned. You spent exactly as planned. There were delays. You gotta extrapolate from this. So EV in this case is higher than AC. So that means we are under budget in this case. So it's not A, it's not B, it's not C, it's not exactly as planned. So it's got to be where we are unfavorable in terms of schedule and favorable in terms of cost. So in terms of cost, we're good. In terms of schedule, we're bad. That's how you would look at a question like this. All right. So looking at that, the answer would be option D. Here's another question, still in the intermediate level. When it comes to definition questions, you are going to have definition questions. Here's an example, right? Your team is going through a performance stage. This can be described by one statement, choose it. So if you don't know the definition for performing, you could have trouble with it. Let's take a look at another one. Graphs and things such as this, you could face this on your exam. You need to be able to interpret these graphs. If the earned value line is above everything else at a particular point, you're doing good on those fronts. But if it's lower, you're not doing well. I want you to go look for my tough question series where I talk about a lot of these things. Now, let me show you some additional question types, which are of the longer variety. You could get questions with a lot of text. So you're working on a project or a process. Key benefit of the process is this. This is where these key benefits could be tested. It's purely definition, but it's dressed up with some sort of scenario sounding approach. Okay. I also want to state that you could get agile related questions. So I want you to go watch my agile drills series where I talk about this. And here's an example. You're working on a project using an agile project delivery framework. Which of the following characteristics would you expect? So here you got to know what is fixed. What is fixed? The answer, you can find this on page 110 of the Agile Practice Guide. You're going to fix the schedule. You're going to fix the cost. You could get things of an agile nature. Okay. All right. So those are just a few of the ideas I wanted to share with you today. But on your exam, things could get even more situational. And I want to show you an example of how situational your test could be. So what I showed you just now, those are fairly straightforward, but you are going to have some of those, what should the project manager do next type of questions. So let me show you one of those. And honestly, the what should the project manager do next type stuff, I'm going to guess you're going to have at least 80 to 90% of what should you do next. So here's a typical example. You are the project manager involved in closing the project accounts and reassigning personnel after variance analysis and final product transition. You have also returned excess project material to the firm's material repository while auditing project success or failure and reasons for the attained result. Which of the following should you do next? Again, you take a look at the question. You got to understand the terms used. You got to understand where you are, even without consciously thinking about it. And you need to go straight to the answer and select it. This is how your exam would be. If you haven't seen questions like this, get used to seeing a lot of what should you do next? What should the project manager do next?